What's going on, everybody? Welcome into Blazers Uprise Live here on a Monday. Today, we don't have much to talk about, but we do have some trade rumors as we wrap up the month of July. The Blazers still hanging on to multiple veterans, and maybe one still might be on the move this offseason. We don't know yet, but Jerami Grant rumors, multiple Jerami Grant rumors, as well as rumors regarding who the Blazers might or may not want back from the Los Angeles Lakers. We're going to talk about the Olympics. We're going to talk about the Suns' newest signing, a phenomenal pickup for them. But first, Eric, how's your Monday?
It's going pretty good. Had a pretty long weekend, but yeah. How's your Monday go?
It's good. You know, I'm a little sunburned right now. Like you can kind of see it, a little sunburn. So I played basketball. I was wearing a no sleeve shirt, you know, like sleeveless shirt.
Mm-hmm.
Big mistake. My shoulders are still recovering because I'm just super white and I burn super easily. So, you know, it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate, but you know, getting back from that and man, just super busy, hectic day for me. Other than that, happy to stream because honestly, this is like the time of Mondays where I can just kind of unwind, relax in a way. Shout out to chat. Let me know how your weekend went. Let me know if you did anything fun this weekend in that live chat. Thank you for joining us for the live stream. If you're watching back after, appreciate the after stream crew as well. Taylor Packer says, did everyone see the Aaron Fentress bomb? Eric, I did not. Did you see an Aaron Fentress bomb? Because I am not privy to any Aaron Fentress bombs.
No, I just went to his page. I see him taking Steve Young over Troy Aikman, which is the correct move, I guess.
I don't know if we're being trolled in chat early on in the stream or what, but shout out to our guy Taylor. Shout out to Max. He said, Tori, I went outside and touched grass over the weekend. Congratulations to Max. That's quite the accomplishment. Anyway.
That I don't see anything for a week.
Yeah, I don't know.
Come on, Taylor.
You think Taylor's trolling us in the intro? He said that he's been told that the Blazers have a goal to trade one of Jerami Grant or Ant before training camp. I posted the video on Rip City Reddit. So he's not trolling us, Eric. See, there's a reason. If that was anyone else in chat that was like, you see the Aaron Fentress bomb, I probably would not have said it in the intro. But because it was Taylor, I trust Taylor with my life. That's why he has the blue wrench that I accidentally gave to him. I trust Taylor. Dude, I've known Taylor longer than like anyone else in this community, actually. So we go back to high school days, man. So shout out to my guy Taylor. I did not see that, Eric. I guess intro thoughts. We'll get into some Jerami Grant stuff, but do you believe that? And or if that's their mindset, do you agree with it?
I think they would like to trade someone before training camp, yes. That's why I said on the last stream that I still think they'll make a move just to make one more, like, freeing up of some salary roster spot. But I don't know if they're like, we have to do it, you know?
Yeah, so the way Taylor phrased it was the goal is to trade one of them. The goal, obviously, not dire. They're not going to take back pennies on the dollar. But if that is their mindset, it does make me wonder if they will move off their asking price a little bit, which we will talk about when we get to talking about Jerami Grant. As you can see, we got the rundown on the left. That's the topics we're going to talk about today in order. But ultimately, I think that makes sense because you got 5 guys that should be starting at 4 positions. And those guys are, in my opinion, Scoot Henderson, Shaden Sharp, Anthony Simons, Denny Avdia, and Jerami Grant. None of those are centers. None of those are going to be the starting center. DeAndre Ayton's going to be the starting center. And if it wasn't DeAndre Ayton, it would probably be Donovan Clingan if the Blazers found a way to move off Ayton. They still got Robert Williams on the roster, right? So, like, center's a whole nother conversation. But right now, they got 5 players, point guard to power forward, that should be starting at 4 spots. So if you trade one of Anthony Simons or Jerami Grant, you essentially kind of make that decision easier If you trade Ant, of course, you got Scoot and Sharp as the starting backcourt, and then you got Avdia and Grant at the starting forwards. If you trade Grant, which I think is more likely, you can start the 3-guard lineup with Avdia playing the 4 and Ayton at the 5. Avdia is a better rebounder than Jerami Grant at the 4. I actually like Avdia a little bit better at the power forward spot than Jerami Grant simply because of the rebounding. So I do think that's the goal. It just comes down to, okay, well, what is their asking price for both players, and do they budge off that asking price? A report like that kind of makes me feel like they might, but it's a long game. And we saw them play the long waiting game last offseason with Damian Lillard, of course. It's not like Joe Cronin hasn't done this just last year. So we could be in for a long offseason where it doesn't seem like anything's going to happen before training camp, and then maybe we get a surprise sprung upon us sometime in September.
Yeah, maybe. It seems weird every time there's a report from someone that being like, Blazers asking price is 2 firsts for Jerami Grant. It's like, no crap. We've been saying that for, 2 months now? That's their asking price for Jerami?
Yeah, I mean, it's literally been common knowledge, I thought. See, there's stuff like that where it's like, if we talk about that, it's, oh, everybody knew. You know what I mean? Everybody knew it was 2 firsts, right? I don't know why it keeps getting reported then. Like, everybody should know that it's 2 first-round picks that the Blazers want for Jerami Grant. I mean, it's logically speaking, you could see that coming into this offseason, that if they were going to trade Jerami Grant, they were going to hope for 2 first-round picks, because they probably could have traded him for a first at last year's deadline. And, you know, they wanted to hang on to him, yada, yada, yada. They tanked, you know, it's all that weird stuff that we've talked about with direction and this and that. But ultimately, at the end of the day, like, you have a player that a lot of teams would like, because teams love shooting, and especially forwards that can shoot, and you can see being impactful defensively. Whether Jerami Grant can still be a super impactful defender on a winning team remains to be seen, right? Because he's kind of trended towards being more of an offensive player instead of a defensive one. But he shot above 40% from 3 the last 2 seasons. And he's big enough to play the 4. And if you are a team with enough rebounding, you can play him at the 4, and he can provide you 3-level scoring and shot creation at that spot. That is hard to find, and everybody freaks out about his contract. But, man, it's the cap is going up. The NBA just signed their new TV rights deal. It sounds like TNT is not going to be a part of that. We kind of saw that coming. It was confirmed as the 3 players that we thought it was going to be. First is ESPN/ABC. Second is NBC coming back with the new with the old theme song, which I love, Eric. Even though I wasn't around for that, man, I love that.
Round ball rock, let's go.
And then the third one is Amazon, right? So
yep.
It's going to be interesting to see those new broadcasts, but that's a lot of money coming into the league. The cap's going to go up. Contracts that are long-term contracts are going to become more valuable because they're going to become a lower percentage of the cap. It's just simple mathematics. So, contract's fine. We'll see. But ultimately, like, you know, I want to talk about this a little bit later because it ties into, you know, a couple reports and a couple things that have been said. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I don't expect anything soon. But I do think there's a legitimate chance that something gets done in September. I'm not going to put a number on it because I don't know enough to put a number on it, but I would not be surprised either way if nothing happens or if something happens in September or the week before training camp.
Yep. Anyway,
let's segue into a couple different topics. So we're going to talk about Tyus Jones, he signed with the Phoenix Suns. Phenomenal signing for him. But before we talk about that, I dropped a video on it on our NBA channel. I'm going to try and revive that. So if you want to go subscribe to our NBA channel, I put the link in the live chat, and I'll also put the link in the description so you guys can go and subscribe to NBA Uprise. Going to try and do some preseason previews for teams and stuff. And part of the reason, Eric, I'm like more confident in doing an NBA channel is in the past year and a half, I've just learned a lot more about how to actually make videos work, like get views on YouTube. Part of the help, honestly, is due to guys like Romp, guys like Gabe, at Suns Valley Podcast. So shout out to them. Embracing certain types of titles works, right? So I'm ready to put on my my new YouTuber cap again and get that channel off the ground. So if you guys go subscribe, we're trying to get that monetized.
You're finally admitting the clickbaity titles.
Tyus Jones changes everything for the Phoenix Suns. Hey, I don't know if that's that clickbaity because that is a phenomenal signing for them, right? It's just So the key with YouTube is to create a title that piques curiosity. And they want to find the video to see what the hell you're talking about in regards to the title. So it changes everything. What does that mean? You know what I mean? It piques curiosity. But also, Tyus Jones is such a good sign. It's not like I sat here and said, Ish Wainwright changes everything for the Portland Trailblazers when he signed here, right? You know what I mean? Although I did. That was maybe my most clickbaity title ever because I said the Blazers signed a defensive beast. So, I have my moments, but I barely ask for likes. The title normally relates to the video, okay? I'm not full YouTuber. I'm still myself.
Devin has jumped onto the scene with masterful clickbaity titles.
I know, man. So our guy Devin in chat, PNW Dev on YouTube. You might have seen a YouTube video of his, but he's helped me edit stuff before, and he's going to help me a little bit with NBA Uprise. And he started to upload. Eric, I didn't know it was him. I clicked on one of his videos, watched the review. I was like, oh, this dude kind of knows what he's doing, like putting together a video, putting together a title, like all that. I was like,
we learn from the best.
I know. I was like, this guy kind of knows what he's doing. Who the hell is this guy? It's literally my editor, bro, and I've talked to him before, but like I wasn't actually thinking that Devin was doing stuff on YouTube like that. So when I found out, I was like, oh, that makes sense. He's one of ours, okay? We develop good YouTubers over here. So shout out to him if you guys haven't subscribed. I know he's trying to get to 1,000 subs. So PNW Dev, he knows the YouTube game. So it was kind of surreal. But Tyus Jones signing, Eric, what'd you think of it?
I mean, for a minimum, that's about as good as I think if you're Phoenix this year and you could have said your off season would include getting Tyus for a minimum. I think no matter what else happened, you gladly take that. I think he's the perfect guy, or would have been the perfect guy for them last year. Just someone who can run the offense, doesn't turn the ball over, is a really smart player. And he won't like interfere with trying to shoot too much or anything like that for their 3 stars. And so I think that's exactly the type of point guard they needed. Just someone who can come in and do the things that he does. And I mean, obviously at this point of free agency, it's not surprising that he signed for a minimum, but just heading into free agency this year, if you would have said he would have had to settle for that, that would have been crazy in my mind.
Yeah, it's the middle class of the NBA has been dampened because of the new CBA. And that's what I thought was so ironic about that signing was like the new CBA was set up to punish teams like the Phoenix Suns, right? Took away their taxpayer mid-level exception. But in a way, it might have helped the Phoenix Suns get Tyus Jones. Now, if the Suns had their taxpayer mid-level exception, maybe Tyus Jones signs for that. I just feel like, I don't know. I feel like under the old CBA, he makes even more than the taxpayer MLE.
Yeah, probably.
And that's just kind of what's fascinating is it screwed a guy like Tyus Jones over, and in a way, it helped the Phoenix Suns because I don't know if they get him under the old CBA. And that's the perfect type of player they need on the offensive side of the ball. Like defense, he's not going to really help them there, but they needed a guy offensively of his caliber that could play on or off the ball, facilitate, doesn't make mistakes. And he averaged 1 turnover a game last year for 7.3 assists per game. It was just phenomenal stuff. He's really good. So great pickup for them. I assume they start him next to Beal and Booker defensively. That has some major question marks in my mind. But offensively, I think he's going to make them even more potent. They're not going to have the same turnover issues. They're going to be able to run a little better offense. We'll see what Budenholzer does. I think that's an offensive upgrade as far as their coach goes. So yeah, Phoenix is gonna. I think they're for sure gonna be a playoff team this upcoming year. I don't think they're gonna be a play-in. How high of a seed they get, it remains to be seen. But I think they will be more formidable.
Yeah, I agree. I think one of their biggest issues last year was, well, other than health, is um, like Booker showed that he can handle the point guard responsibilities, but he just got so worn down having to do it, like be the only one who could create and, or not necessarily create, but like play make for others and stuff. So like you could tell it was like taking its toll on him. Just having that extra guy who can, like you said, get a bunch of assists without turning the ball over, I think it'll help him out immensely, being fresher throughout the games. Booker is a decent defender when he has the energy, so I think that'll help him out on the other end too. Give a little bit more effort on defense instead of all of it just trying to break down the defense with the ball. I think as Blazer fans, we saw this for years, if you're old enough to remember, with Brandon Roy, is kind of stuck between, he was like good enough to be your primary ball handler, but like it was tough for him to be a point guard like 100% of the time. So you always kind of needed someone next to him that could handle the ball as well. And so I think this is that guy for Phoenix.
Yep. Yep, 100%. Big time pickup for them. Let's move on. Let's talk about Jerami Grant.
Well, let's segue for the Lakers. Yeah. This another guy, like, so what, they couldn't get a Tyus Jones for a minimum? Like, they miss out on another target, you know? Like, it might not have been close to happening with this particular player, but, like, I mean, how many guys are going to sign for, like, cheap with other teams? And how many times can the Lakers miss out on these guys with a near 40-year-old LeBron James before they start to, like, each time it feels like there's more and more pressure on them as, like, one of the few teams who haven't even signed a single free agent yet this summer. Like, it seems like it is ratcheting it up to this Jerami Grant situation and why it's blowing up so much in the last couple weeks.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good thing for Portland if the Lakers are more desperate and keep striking out on any potential target. And honestly, I don't know if there's anyone out there on the free agent market left that really makes sense for the Lakers because they need shooting. And Tyus Jones, 41% three-point shooter. Who's the next best point guard on the market? Markelle Fultz? He's not a shooter, right? He's not a fit on that team. So, chat, let me know who you think is the best free agent shooter left out there. But I mean, it's you're getting a guy probably that's very limited if there is like a legitimate shooter out there. Do you have a name that comes to mind?
Well, they're not point guards, but Kennard and McDermott are still out there. So both of those would help. I don't know if either of them would sign for a minimum there. But they're not helping you like defense or anything else. They're like just shooters, yeah.
See, like for me, it's like okay, is Doug McDermott that much better of a shooter than Max Christie to play Doug McDermott over Max Christie? I don't know.
Oh,
like,
I
you know what I mean?
Either. I'm just saying those are the shooters that are left on the board.
Yeah, like and you know you got Connect too. Like I'd play Connect over Kennard. It's funny because their names are kind of similar, but I play Connect over Kennard. So it's like you got Christie, you got Kennard. That's kind of your shooters. Like Reeves can shoot the three. It's just you don't have like an elite shooter. Being able to get an elite shooter at a power forward position too is just a really good fit for that team. Because you can mix and match big, small lineups. They have the rebounding. Like Jerami Grant's just a really good fit in my opinion. Can take some of the scoring creation load off of guys, but also play off ball and also be okay defensively if he's in the right role. So Jerami Grant, I think, makes a ton of sense for the Lakers. There was a quote from Zach Lowe on his podcast on July 26th. So
this is when it all started.
3 days ago.
Ramping up again.
Zach Lowe said, "Should we start printing the Jerami Grant Lakers jerseys, by the way? Should we just do it now? I think I might order one." So take that however you want to take that. It's kind of interesting quote. I mean, Zach Lowe has, I mean, he's ESPN, right? Like, probably talks to Woj, like, talks to execs. Like, he's pretty plugged in. He's not really that much of, like, a newsbreaker, Eric, but, like, he's so reputable that I can't listen to a quote like that and not put any stock in it, you know what I mean? So I just thought that quote was interesting to hear from him.
Yeah. By the way, do you want me to try to get him on the show?
I mean, if you think it's possible, why not?
Would you want him to? I don't know if he would do this late at night, but yeah.
I mean, I'll change the time around if we're...
Yeah.
What, are you like buddy with Zach Lowe?
I mean, last year he followed me, and so like I can DM him, I guess.
Last year he followed you. How many people does he follow? Only 3,000. Damn, okay. That's pretty... props to you. Look at you, all Hollywood. Followed by Zach Lowe. And you didn't even say anything about it because you're just used to being big time now.
No, I was just like... I don't know. I was thinking about like reaching out to him around the like trade deadline to see if he wanted to come on, but like I haven't really. I was waiting for like a bigger, like a something bigger to do to talk about, you know.
I mean,
but like
he's big.
This
time,
might be
bro.
kind of interesting if he has some like Jerami Grant stuff.
Yeah, like he's big time, man. He's big time. So, I mean, how could we ever turn down that chance? Like, no way we couldn't, because he's big time. I mean, that's just such an interesting quote though from him. I don't know, like it could be he's hearing stuff that's legit, or it could be, oh, this makes so much logical sense.
Yeah, it's probably more like that, because I mean, it just, like you said, the options for the Lakers are running out. It's like, what, Kuzma or Jerami at this point?
Yeah.
And they already still owe another pick to the Pelicans. I mean, I guess a Brandon Ingram return, maybe, but I don't know if he makes a ton of sense in that lineup. And we've talked about this before, but I feel like LeBron has done better with when they're spacing on the court. As we'll talk about in a minute with the Olympics, I guess. But it's a case where Kuzma is better at some things than Jerami, but the main thing they need is that 3-point shooting, and I think Jerami is much better spacing the floor than Kuzma is.
Yeah, 100%. He makes more sense than Kuzma. Also, what's playing in Portland's favor is that Jerami Grant is a clutch client, and apparently, reportedly, Rich Paul, his agent, wants him in Los Angeles and has tried to help facilitate a deal. So there was a report, local Blazer media, basically that Clutch got the Lakers to say they'd be willing to trade 2 first-round picks for Jerami, and that when it came time to do it, Pelinka balked.
Yeah, apparently it was pretty close to happening, and then Pelinka pulled out.
Because there was substantial rumors around the start of free agency. Like, it would not surprise me if that's how this played out, because there was so much noise around it.
Yeah. And this might also come into play if you're Cronin, and he initially was seeming like he was agreeing to the 2 first being the value for Jerami, and then balked at that. Then if you cave and trade him for only 1 first, then you kind of look like an idiot, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like if his value was determined to be 2 first-round picks.
Yeah, so the reported trade package, the big salary piece, is going to have to be D'Angelo Russell or Rui Hachimura. There's a report from, let's see here, I'm going to butcher his name, but he works at The Athletic, so, you know, a reputable publication there. Jovan Buha says that Portland does not want D'Angelo Russell back in a trade because they have 1 million guards anyway, which, I mean, just makes complete sense, right? Like, they don't want him back. Now, you could flip him to a third team. It doesn't have to be Russell going to Portland. It could be Russell to a third team. However, who knows really how many suitors are left out there for D'Angelo Russell. Like, he had ties to the Nets. I never really understood that because they're going into rebuild mode. Like, why do they want D'Angelo Russell? Does not make sense to me. So it's hard to think of a landing spot for Russell at this point. So I feel like he's not the salary matching piece. And if the Lakers are trading for Jerami Grant, that's a power forward, right? They have Rui Hachimura. I think he would be the salary piece coming back to Portland. I mean, I'll just say this right now, like, Rui in 2 firsts is a really, really, really good haul for Portland. I don't even care what the other salary is, Eric. Like, I don't care if we take back Gabe Vincent's salary. You get back 2 firsts plus a player that I think Rui still has some value. Like, Rui is a solid player. He is still relatively young. His contract, I don't think he's overpaid. Like, he's a kind of a sixth man scoring forward off the bench. But last year, in 27 minutes game, he averaged almost 14 points per game, 4 boards, 1 assist. He's not really a playmaker for others, but he was crazy efficient. He shot 60% from 2, 42% from 3. That's a true shooting percentage of 63%. Like, you can make the case that like, Jerami Grant isn't... There's not a 2 first-round pick difference between Jerami Grant and Rui Hachimura.
Yeah.
Especially for a team in Portland's situation where you're young, you're rebuilding. Rui is only 26 years old. He's younger. He could maybe be a part of the future. You still need shooting on this team. Rui last year, 42% for 3. Now, here's the thing. Going into next season, you can't put stock in his shooting like you can Jerami Grant's. Because 2 seasons ago, Rui shot 32% from 3. So he went from 32 to 42%. Where is he as a shooter? Probably somewhere in between. He's 37% for his career. Jerami Grant is still better shooter. Was that? 3.5 a game.
Yeah.
Like, it was a okay amount. But Jerami will hit threes off the dribble occasionally. Like, he shoots them on volume, right? And then he attacks closer. Like, he's a better offensive player, of course. But, like, the fact, like, the notion of being able to get back 2 first-round picks plus a player of Rui's caliber is phenomenal freaking value. And that's where I get kind of hung up with this whole situation is you could maybe talk me into a first-round pick plus a swap, depending on, like, what year it is and depending upon the upside of that swap, if you're also getting back Rui. Because I feel like you should be able to flip Rui to a third team down the line and get back, you know, extra value and whatnot. Like, it still seems like pretty good value if you got a first to swap in Rui. Yeah. But if the Lakers were sitting there saying, yeah, we're willing to do 2 firsts and then balked at that and then keep missing out on targets and get more and more desperate, they're not really in a position to sit there and say, like, yeah, you know, we're willing to go into the regular season with this roster. I don't know. They're not in a position of leverage. So that's what makes me super interested in the rest of the saga, beyond just the fact that the Blazers are trying to trade a player, is who caves first. Because you would think that one of these 2 teams is going to cave and meet the other. Now, where are the Lakers trying to be met at? Are they only trying to trade 1 first and not even give up a swap? Then that's probably not good enough for Portland. If Portland's holding off on 2 firsts, the Lakers still might not do that. You know, they passed that up earlier this offseason. Are they desperate enough to do it now? Will they cave to that? I don't know. The middle ground is a first and a swap with Rui. So I just feel like it makes too much sense for both teams not to find some sort of middle ground or some sort of meeting point to make this trade happen, Eric. But when you're dealing with NBA GMs and NBA teams and Rob Pelinka hasn't been aggressive in trying to get players and Cronin is sticking hard to his guns, asking for 2 firsts, I feel like that's the only reason this trade would not happen, is because those two guys aren't willing to budge.
Yeah, if the Blazers are willing to accept one first, I think this deal has already been done.
Correct.
The other mystery, or not necessarily mystery, but do you think there is any way that, I believe it is almost exactly a week from now, Tori, Dalton Connect salary becomes tradable? Do you think that's the holdup right now, possibly?
I mean, they can. How much is he making? Like, what could they do with his salary that they couldn't do now? Like, what would that open up?
I'm
Like,
not
who would they
necessarily.
not have to include? Because otherwise, like, why wouldn't
Well,
they
I'm
just
not
agree
necessarily
to
his
it now?
salary. Just
Yeah,
that
but like,
he could be part of the trade.
they could agree
is
to
what
it
I'm
now for it to be official once that date comes, right?
I don't think they can. I think they can.
It happened with Andrew Wiggins, right?
Well, so that was the thing. It was like rumored for like that whole time, and then all of a sudden, the day he was eligible, it was like, oh, we have a trade to announce.
Yeah,
but it was like,
but teams can agree in principle to a trade that then gets pushed through at a later date. We see it all the time, right? Like, how many trades do we see? Like, oh, this trade will be official in the start of free agency, and it's like 9 days before the start of free agency because they have to wait till free agency. Like, the Blazers just did it with Denny. So I see no reason why, like, the Lakers and Blazers couldn't agree in principle, have it be leaked, have everyone know it's coming, Woj report it as, a trade that's happening, and it just be pending for him to become available. So for that reason, I feel like that's not the case.
mm-hmm. Yeah. So Dylan Neville and Brooks says 1 first-round pick, Rui, Gabe, Reddish for Grant. This deal looks like. This is the deal looks like. So here's the deal. Okay. If we're trading Jerami for an expiring contract and we got an unprotected first, I think I'm okay with that. Even though I think Jeremy's worth slightly more than a first. When we got him, we gave up a top 4 protected first and basically $20 million in salary savings to Detroit, which allowed them to get Jalen Duren by taking on salary from the Knicks. So, like, there was extra value there besides just the first. Whereas in this particular trade, if we're taking back players like Gabe Vincent, that has to come with more assets attached coming back. So if Jeremy's worth, in my opinion, slightly more than a first, and you're trying to dump Gabe Vincent on us as well, that's where I think, in my mind, I think you can't settle for much less than 2 firsts or a first and a good pick swap, because you're also taking back salary as well. So in my mind, that's where I think some of the disconnect is when people say, well, Jeremy's not worth 2 firsts. Well, Gabe Vincent isn't neutral value in a trade either. So, like, we're taking on his salary.
Yeah, now you could make the argument from the Lakers' point of view that Rui has enough value for it to cancel out the negative value of Gabe Vincent, but still, I think Jeremy's worth a little bit more than the first. Gabe Vincent's contract is not good. I mean, that was just a stupid signing. Like, I didn't like the signing when they made it. It's kind of Kendrick Nunn, but a little worse contractually, right? Bringing over a point guard from the Heat. We saw how that worked out last time. So, and it's not like the Blazers have a need for Gabe Vincent either. I guess he could be their 3rd string point guard. Just don't like that contract. So that's where it has to be a swap. But also, and this is what I said about Dame. This is what I've said in other situations. Like when the Blazers were in the luxury tax, but were trying to trade Norm to get under. And, they basically give up Norman Powell for nothing. And the whole excuse was they had no leverage because teams knew we had to duck the tax. When you have the commodity, you have the leverage if it's a commodity that other teams would want. So If there's other teams out there that are willing to give up a first with better salary, that trade package is better than the Lakers, right? So the Blazers have the leverage, even if that's what Jerami Grant's like hypothetical value should be, and a bunch of teams are giving that up. Then it becomes, okay, which team is going to come over the top and beat out all these other offers? Because I feel like there's probably 2 or 3 teams out there that would be willing to give up a first-round pick for Jerami Grant. Sacramento could be a good example of one of them. If there's not, then yeah, that's tough, but Jerami Grant's a good enough player that I wouldn't be shocked if that was the case. The Blazers have the commodity, they have the leverage, they have the asset that a team would want, and that's Jerami Grant. The Lakers don't have really players that teams would want. It just comes down to the picks. So they're going to have to trade more than their fans probably want them to trade. They're going to have to trade a first and at least a swap, in my mind. The question is, how hard do they try and play hardball? Because they've tried to play hardball before, and then does Cronin come off that 2 firsts and settle for a first and a swap? I don't know. It is interesting how Clutch is trying to get Jerami Grant to LA because that's added pressure for the Lakers front office, Eric. Mm-hmm. They've already struck out. They're not any better than they were last year. Last year they were a first round exit. Like, they're not a contender right now. You got LeBron, he's going to turn 40 this season. Like, you kind of got a ticking clock here. Who knows how many healthy seasons you're going to get out of Anthony Davis? They can't afford to waste a single season not being a contender. And you got a perfect player, in my opinion, perfect fit there in LA and Jerami Grant. They, in my mind, have to make this trade for him. So the leverage is not in the Lakers' favor. That's why Portland can sit here and wait until September. Wait until the week before training camp. Shoot, they could even bring Jerami Grant to training camp and then say, if you still want him, it's you guys know the price already. It's just up to the Lakers to make the trade that they need to make. If they don't make the trade they need to make, they're just going to waste this season. Unless they can get a miracle at the trade deadline. But their miracle at the trade deadline would probably be the same exact trade that they're turning down now. So why wait? I don't get it.
Yeah, and then on top of that, you see how LeBron played in the Olympics, and which we can talk about more later. But I saw so many Laker fans tweeting, like, screw Rob Pelinka. Look at LeBron, how he's playing. He just needs a little bit of help, and you're not even doing anything to give him any pieces to help this year. So I think as him and Anthony Davis show that they're still really talented and good players that can definitely carry a team, to not go for it like one last time with them and just let them run out their careers without another chance at a ring, it just seems crazy to me. Like, what's the point of even keeping them on the roster if that's the case?
Yeah, 100%. Quick little note on the D'Angelo Russell thing, like, Blazers, of course, aren't going to want him back. There was a comment in chat saying maybe the Blazers could, Lakers could send D'Angelo Russell to Orlando and they would trade Cole Anthony and Jet Howard for him. Number one, I don't...
Well, there was a Bleacher Report idea. That's where that comes from.
Yeah. So basically, I didn't see that Bleacher Report idea, but essentially, the whole thing is like Blazers get back Jet Howard in that deal. The Lakers get Cole Anthony. The Lakers would then have to trade out like Vanderbilt's salary to match Cole Anthony. So does Vando go to Portland? Right? Because I don't think he could go to Orlando in that scenario.
I have the trade. Hold on.
Yeah. Might as well just read it off at this point.
Yeah. All right.
You lacked intensity. Yes, we'll read it off after this D'Angelo Russell conversation. Thank you.
Lakers get Jerami Grant and Cole Anthony. Send out D'Angelo Russell, Gabe Vincent, Jared Vanderbilt, Jalen Hood-Schifino, and a top 3 protected 2029 first, 2030 second. And the Blazers get Gabe Vincent, Jared Vanderbilt, Jet Howard, a 2025 first from Orlando via Denver, and a top 3 protected 2029 first from Los Angeles. Trade out Jerami Grant and a 2028 second.
Yeah.
So
I'm not
basically
even
they're
focused
getting
on the first, just like the salary there.
Yeah. And then the Magic get D'Angelo Russell, Jalen Hood-Schifino, and 2 seconds for Cole Anthony, Jet Howard, and the Denver first.
I don't think Orlando does that.
Yeah,
I don't think they come close to doing that.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a bad first, but I don't think it's worth it for D'Lo. I don't think D'Lo has that type of value.
It is from it's from Denver, not Orlando, chat. So
yeah, so it's a late first next year. Like I don't think that D'Angelo Russell has that sort of value because Jet Howard, you're talking about a lottery pick from literally 2023 draft. So you're trading basically a guy who is just a lottery pick, who is a shooter and they need shooting, and a first round pick, and like a bench scoring guard that, you know, kind of plays in that D'Lo role already in a way for D'Lo. Just doesn't really make sense to me. So I don't think I don't think D'Lo would be a part of this trade unless a third team gives up more than I would expect them to give up for Russell, which could happen, but I don't think it's likely.
If they took out the first, would you do it?
So the Blazers are getting back. I mean, are the Blazers getting back 2 firsts or 1 first then?
You're getting 1 first.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
Jet Howard.
No, I would not do that. I would not do that. Because here's the thing with the Lakers first. It's 2029, 2031. And presumably light protections. Those have upside. One of those firsts has more potential than Jet Howard. And...
well, you'll still be getting that first.
Yeah, but I'd want both.
I think we're good.
Weird little lag hiccup. I don't have lag issues anymore like that. Like, I fixed the lag. That was strange. A little 5-second hiccup. You guys missed the lag? There you go. What was I saying?
That you want the 2029 and 2031.
Yeah, because, I mean, man, like, if they're good, they're good. Okay, fine. Like, it's a late first. But I think there's a legitimate chance that, like, Jet Howard is nothing more than just a bench shooter. I'm not replacing one of the Lakers' lightly protected future firsts with Jet Howard value-wise. Like, there's just upside with those picks that is intriguing and that could be a legitimate difference maker, where I don't think Jet Howard is going to be a legitimate difference maker. And it's like, if you have Avdia and then maybe whoever the Blazers draft next year at your forward positions long term, and you have your guard set, is Jet Howard ever even going to start? You can find a bench shooter, right? You can always find a bench shooter. It's not that hard. The hope with Jet Howard, he can do more. I just don't think he'd really have a path to starting on this team. Give me that future first or even a future swap with the upside of that. Because even if, you can say, oh, it doesn't really align with their timeline because their young core is going to be older by then and you're going to be bringing in a rookie, you don't have to draft with that pick. That could be a really good trade value to trade for a star that gets you over the top. Whereas Jet Howard at that point might not have trade value at all. Who knows? So give me the picks. Give me 1 first and a swap over a first and Jet Howard.
Yeah. And real quick, so Elizabeth Allen earlier said that the Blazers have 15 players on the roster. They have to cut existing ones before the trade to make room. That's actually not true in the offseason. You can have up to, I think, 21 players now on your roster in the offseason. So the same trade rules don't apply as to after the deadline for rosters being complete for the season to begin at the end of training camp. So right now, until that point at the end of training camp, the Blazers can take back more. That they just end up having to cut a guaranteed salary if they have more than 15 guaranteed salaries by the start of the season.
Yep. Alrighty, shout out to Nathan, member for 18 months, says Jake Layman. Yes, shout out Jake Lehman, the only NBA player I've met. And then shout out to We Lacked Intensity, $10 donation says, would you keep Ant on the roster as insurance for Scoot if he doesn't blossom? We are far from competing, but the Ant road is a calculated decision. The Scoot road is a gamble and complete mystery. Thank you for the $10 donation. Interesting question. I don't think Ant, I don't look at Ant as insurance at all. Like, it's just kind of, I don't know, like, Scoot's going to be what Scoot's going to be. Ant can play with Scoot. So if Scoot's good, you can have Scoot and Ant. So I don't look at it as an either or in that regard. And even if Scoot doesn't blossom, you can always draft another point guard in the future. I actually think it's a little easier to just draft another point guard in the future once you have more of a sample size with Scoot than keeping a guy who's already a 22-5 guy as insurance for somebody that's much younger than him, and you need to give Scoot opportunities that might be hard to come by if you have Ant and Sharp starting ahead of him, for example. So I don't really look at Ant as Scoot insurance at all. I think if Scoot doesn't blossom, like, you can have Ant, or you could have traded Ant, and that's not really going to make a difference there. It's gonna be a bad thing if Scoot doesn't blossom, and it's gonna be great if he does. Plain and simple. You can always draft guards in the draft, though. Like, that's the one thing is, like, if they traded Ant and then Scoot doesn't blossom, I don't know. I'm just not worried about this team being able to find a guard for the future. Because that's the one thing they've shown that they can do, right? So, and I think Scoot will at least be able to get to the point where he's a starting, maybe a bottom tier starting point guard, but at least a starting caliber point guard.
So you're saying Jordan Poole will be our next point guard in 2 or 3 years?
Jordan Poole ain't no point guard, bro. Come
I'm
on
just kidding.
now. Disgusted you would even bring up his name in such a context.
For me, I think it's as simple as the Blazers, as Cronin has said, are in talent acquisition mode. It's not that they need someone to back up someone else if they don't pan out or anything like that. It's just they're just trying to get as many young players that have talent as possible. Anthony Simons has a lot of talent. Scoot has a lot of talent. I think they want, obviously, to have. I mean, obviously, like, it would be great if that worked out with them both playing, but ultimately, I think they want Anthony to be good enough to have more trade value than he has right now, or just show exactly how good he can be. But I don't think it's a case where they're looking at it like, oh, we have to keep Anthony because what if Scoot's not good?
Yeah.
Even though that probably is a concern, I don't think they necessarily think, because if Scoot, I still contend if Scoot ends up being a bust or not being a starting caliber guard eventually, like, the whole timeline with Anthony and stuff like that is screwed anyway. So, like, you're going to have to move on from him probably anyway. Like, you're not going to be good enough in his prime either to recover from Scoot not being good. So, like, I think basically you either find a way for it to work where Scoot's good enough early on in his career and Anthony provides spacing for him to be the best version of himself, or you probably have to move on from Anthony.
Yep, 100%. And it's funny how it's like Ant versus Scoot. I don't know why, like, Sharp gets a pass necessarily in terms of being a part of the conversation between the three guards. I guess it's because he's bigger and can play the three. But Eric, like, I would not be shocked if Scoot and Ant are the best two guards next year. And not even as, like, a knock on Sharp next year. Just, you guys know I'm a Scoot believer. And Ant's already better than the both of them. So really it comes down to, like, could Scoot look better than Sharp next year? And Sharp had his struggles last season. Now, there's, like, a bunch of potential reasons for that hopefully shouldn't be reasons going forward. But Scoot certainly, in my opinion, has more as, like, a lead playmaker. And I think upside in top-end value, you have to be like a lead playmaker, somebody that can, read defenses at a high level as a scorer and as a passer. And Sharp has shown more flashes early on in his career than I expected in that regard, and that's what has me excited for Shaedon Sharpe. But I think right now Scoot is a better passer, and a little better reading the defense. He had some turnover issues, but it's just like if he can figure out his finishing at the rim and his shot, 3-point shot, which after he started wearing contacts, it was like 34, 35%. I think it was like 34.5%. Sharp shot 33% from 3 last year. So like both these guys have some work to do. I don't know if it's like, oh, Sharp's for sure the guy and then it's Ant versus Scoot. I think there could be a scenario, and this isn't necessarily what I expect, but I think it's possible that there's a scenario where it's, oh man, Scoot and Ant look really good together, and Sharp is struggling. And maybe the calculation for some people gets a little bit shifted because of that.
Yeah, I also see a scenario where all 3 of them are good next year. So that might be it. I don't know what is more likely, but I mean that'd be cool if we're talking about all 3 of them blossoming together.
Yeah. John Smith says Sharp's potential is higher. I don't think Sharp's potential is higher than Scoot, Eric.
Yeah, I think it's pretty close, but yeah, I mean they're much different players. Like I don't.
I view their potential in the same realm. I do not view one as having a higher ceiling than the other. And for the people that think Sharp has a higher ceiling, why? Is it just because he's bigger? That's like the only argument I could really understand, is because he's bigger.
So Eric Olson says if Scoot does become a star, we'll have kept Ant for nothing. I don't understand that comment, because if Scoot becomes a superstar, it wouldn't be because like Ant was a detriment, right? It would be because Ant probably helped space the floor for him, right? Like if he's still on the team.
Yeah, why can't they play together?
I mean, maybe it doesn't work defensively, but I mean, most stars, let's face it, are offensive. Like they're not.
Yeah, you can. If there's problems with like Ant coexisting with Sharp and with Scoot, and you want to pick Sharp and Scoot, you can always trade Ant for whatever you can get for him down the line. And even if it's like less than you'd hope, but you just want to make the trade just so you have Sharp and Scoot, and that's the justification. After you've seen more from Sharp and Scoot, okay, fine. I think the problem that I have with a lot of people is the people that want to trade Ant right now for anything that they could get back because of Sharp and Scoot, when you just have not seen enough from Sharp or Scoot to give away somebody as good as Anthony Simons for pennies on the dollar. Mm-hmm. So you need to see more before you just ship off Ant just to get rid of him because of what you have. Because what you have other than Ant has not proven itself to be good enough yet. So, yeah, interesting conversation. I mean, the 3-guard conversation is going to be fun. Going into next season, it's maybe the number one storyline of the season, Eric, are these 3 guards.
I'm trying to read through
why people think Sharp has more potential. Yeah. Sharp is the most likely to be a 2-way player. In what regard? Sharp wasn't good defensively last year. I don't know if Sharp has the defensive motor to be a 2-way player. Taylor says, but if what we have isn't good with Scoot and Sharp, we won't be quick enough for Ant to be a part of the future anyway. Okay, then you can just give away Ant too. I don't know. Like, one of Sharp and Scoot might be an all-star, the other one might suck. And if Ant's like a borderline all-star, and one of Scoot and Sharp pops, that's probably your backcourt. It's not like both Scoot and Sharp are good or both Scoot and Sharp suck. One of them might be far better than the other down the line, and it could be either one. And that could be the pairing next to Ant. And the other one might be a 6th man. right? Or the other one gets traded. So that's why it's just like, it doesn't make sense to move off Ant now because of the 3 guards, unless you can get back good enough value for Ant. Like, I haven't been against trading Ant. It's always been, it needs to be for like a price that makes sense that I don't think is out there, right? Like, I don't think there's enough market to get the Blazers back enough to trade him.
Yeah, I mean, there's no point in doing it now. Like the same packages you could settle for right now will be there for the next 2 years of his contract. Like
Exactly.
um, and not to call you out, John Smith, but so he made several comments. Ant couldn't figure out the double team pressure. Ant can't handle the pressure from being a #1 option. We saw that last season. It was his first freaking time without Dame, like, and he saw like crazy amount of defensive attention. He went from like no attention to like insane, like top 10 like attention in the league. Like I don't understand why like we just expect him to from day one, first year doing that, to be like perfect at it. Like, and he had no help from shooting or spacing or anything on the team. So like
And
what did you expect him to do in that situation? Like, I don't understand. Like, he's getting double teamed. You just expect him to like create miracles? Like, I don't.
Yeah, so it's attention that Scoot and Sharp have never seen either.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know how they're going to handle that. Like, it's part of the growth curve. Ant still put up good numbers despite the attention he received. I don't think like his trade value has to do with him getting doubled. Like, there's a comment, his trade value tanked because of it. I don't think his trade market has anything to do with how he handled double teams. I think if anything, that should maybe play in his benefit if you can talk about, if you're Joe Cronin, can talk about, man, look how much gravity this dude played with last year and still put up these numbers.
That's what I've been saying all offseason. Like, look at, like, I just want to see what it looks like if he was like leading a team that had competent players around him and not a tanking team. Like, and that's what Anthony ultimately wants.
I still think I still have a feeling the more likely scenario is if he's playing next to more competent players, he's just not going to shoot as much and not going to be as high volume of an offensive option. Like, I don't see a scenario where he becomes like,
could go up with less.
Yeah. I mean, that's the hope. That's the hope, is he becomes 40% 3-point shooter instead of 38%, right? Like, on volume still. Like, that's the hope. It's, some people will seem to say like, man, maybe he could be like a 26, 27 point per game guy if he just had better talent around him that made it easier for him to score. If you look at his gravity and how defenses punished him for some of the teammates he played with last year, ultimately I think it more so goes towards, okay, he's going to have slightly lower volume, slightly higher efficiency, so like his points per game's probably going to remain like 20 to 22, right? Assists per game might drop a little bit. When he played next to Dame, he was a little bit more off ball. If he played next to better players, he'd probably play a little bit more off ball for his efficiency to go up. So is he going to be the same like offensive engine, facilitator wise? Like, probably not. So I don't really see like the upside of him becoming like a 27 point per game guy. But at the same time, it's not, I don't think the attention that he received last year, I don't think he did a bad job of handling it for his first time, and I don't think that should be used against him, and I don't think GMs that would trade for him are using that against him either. I think it's more so, GMs that just think, oh man, you can find a guard like that can put the ball in the hoop. I mean, like, look at Cam Thomas in Brooklyn, for example, or, you can always find your Terry Rozier, or, Jordan Poole was in the same vein a couple years ago, your Tyler Heroes. Like, I think it's more so GMs feeling like his archetype isn't unique enough to give up too much for him, and or teams just not needing a player of his archetype in the first place. I think that's the bigger factor in his trade value than anything to do with his actual play, which is why I didn't think a trade would end up materializing that made sense for the Blazers, because his value just doesn't match up to how he actually plays.
And unless you're like an elite guard, it's just you don't have trade value. Like these guys aren't getting traded for that much, so it makes more sense to hold on to them.
Yeah. Yeah. So at this point, like, I'm hoping for a Grant trade, and I'm hoping to start 3 guards with Denny, with Ayton, and then move off Ayton at the deadline. Like, that is my most realistic hope. I would also love to get off of Robert Williams the third, and maybe Robert Williams is like lumped into that Lakers trade somehow. I don't really know how the salary would work with that though.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's so close to the second apron. It's tough to
I don't want
imagine start with it. Yeah, I don't either.
It would be like Russell if you could find a third team that didn't. They wouldn't even have to give up like picks for him, just contracts. Just split it into 2 contracts, where the Lakers get back somebody making like $6 million, and we get back somebody making like $8 million, right? $7 or $8 million that we don't need to play. That isn't like Robert Williams III, right? So if there's a team out there like that would be willing to give up just a couple scrub players making like $6 to $8 million, then we can send one to the Lakers and can still work for them, and then we can take one on and just have them be like a third string piece. Whereas like if we have Robert Williams, I don't know, you probably would want to, if you have him on the roster at the start of the season, if you're the Blazers, you'd probably want to play him and try and recoup some of his value. But the problem is you got Ayton and Klingon, so you're probably playing him at the 4, and I'm just scared of the Blazers playing Robert Williams full-time at the 4 and the spacing shooting just being an absolute disaster. So that's why I'm very content with them just shipping off Robert Williams III right now, too. Just you solve the starting problem by trading Grant, and then if you also trade Rob Will, like, okay, you got Klingon and Ayton as your centers, and then you start Avdia at the 4, and then you play whoever at the backup 4, and then you start the 3 guards. And then you play Kamara some backup 3 minutes, shift Sharp down to the 2 with the bench maybe, shift Ant down to the point guard spot with the bench maybe. Like it's a much cleaner rotation with clear-cut roles and enough opportunity for all the players that deserve that opportunity if you trade Grant and Rob Will. So those are the 2 guys I want to see go out right now.
Yeah, I think when it comes to the Lakers, I agree with what Elizabeth Allen says. The problem is if they trade D'Angelo Russell in a Jerami Grant type trade, even if it's to a third team, they are pretty thin at point guard then. Yeah. So they probably need some sort of guard coming back in that deal or another way to get a cheap guard option.
Yep. I mean, let me just look at salary. So if they got back Robert Williams and traded, I mean, roster spots are just an issue. Like Hood Shafino plus Christian. Would they even want to trade Christian Wood, though? I don't know. Jackson Hayes. They're still bringing back $6 million more. It doesn't really work. And here's the thing.
Vanderbilt has to be included.
Yeah, I don't want Vanderbilt.
No, I know.
And Laker fans apparently don't want to give him up. Apparently, I don't know, they like him.
That's fine.
Yeah, that's completely fine, because I don't want him. I do not want him.
I just don't want anyone with that much salary. That's not...
Yeah, the most clear-cut trade is Rui, Gabe Vincent, and Cam Reddish. And I saw people in chat earlier, why in the world would we bring back Cam Reddish? We would cut him.
Yeah.
We would cut him. He's $2.4 million owed. In this trade, we bring back an additional $700,000. We're still below the tax. Like, we just eat Cam Reddish's money. I would not stretch it. Because here's the thing. Like, Blazers would still be, what, $4 million, $5 million under the tax, roughly, after cutting Cam Reddish? It's not like having $2.4 million in dead money extra next season is going to matter, because ultimately the Blazers, if they make a trade at the trade deadline, it's simply going to be probably trading DeAndre Ayton or trading maybe Anthony Simons or Matisse Thybulle. In trades with those guys, you're probably not taking back a bunch more salary. You probably, if anything, are taking back less salary. So you can eat Cam Reddish's $2.4 million. Now the problem is, you can't really eat Gabe Vincent's $11 million. because has 2 years left. If he was on expiring, maybe. You know what I mean? But normally when you have expirings that big, it makes sense to keep them to the trade deadline because they can be a trade asset at that point. The negative contract becomes something that then, once it's close enough to the end, can help you facilitate moves. It doesn't really have value. It just can help you get moves done because it comes off the books. But that's the problem with Gabe Vincent. That's why I don't like his contract. Is he is under contract for this season and next at $11 million this year and $11.5 million next year. That's not a good contract. That's a negative contract. He's not good at the NBA level. He's just not. He's not worth that contract. So, I mean, you look at Tyus Jones signing for a minimum and compare it to Gabe Vincent signing for full mid-level exception last offseason, Eric. Massive, massive difference, right? So,
that was Plinko's big move last offseason.
What'd you say?
That was Plinko's big offseason move last offseason.
Disgusting.
He doesn't do anything at the deadline and hasn't done anything this summer other than draft Bronny and connect.
One Piece says Chicago has Javon Carter, could rope in a trade with them in our first back in the meantime. I mean, what would you give them of value for them to give us our first back and Javon Carter, though? They probably don't want Rui. They got Buzelis, who looked good in Summer League. They got Patrick Williams. I mean, maybe that's their third forward, because who's their third forward other than those two? The 3 or the 4. But also, what the hell is Chicago doing anyway? Why would they give up a first for Rui? And I don't see anyone else that they would actually, give our first back for from the Blazers or the Lakers.
Chris Murray. We should just traded that first to get our first back.
I know. I
Why
know.
didn't we?
My goodness. For real, bro. Yeah. I mean, the Blazers, if they brought back Rui, could have minutes for him. You could slide Avdija down to some 3. But here's the thing. You got Kamara, Eric. And, I am still very bullish on Kamara for good reason. I think there's a chance. I think there's a chance that he could end up being good enough to start for a good team.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm drinking the Kool-Aid a little bit too much, but phenomenal defender, 3-point shot was hit or miss last year, but the end of the season was phenomenal, and he started to make plays here and there. He's just a 3-and-D guy, but if he can be a lockdown defender, I don't know. I could see him being a little Herb Jones-esque. Our version of Herb Jones. That's my hope. So, I don't know. He needs to be playing at least 22, 23 minutes a game next year. If he's playing less than that, that's a travesty, in my opinion. That's the thing, if they brought back Rui and actually played him at the 4 and played him a bunch of minutes behind Avdija and slid Avdija down to the backup 3 behind Sharp. How many minutes do you have left for Kamara?
Yeah, that's why I would rather flip Rui to another team for an expiring team.
I agree.
I know he's only got two years left on his contract.
Yeah, I mean, you could hypothetically play Sharp 10 minutes a game, starting at the 3, and then basically stagger him in a way where it's a 3-guard lineup, 3-guard rotation at point guard and shooting guard with him, Scoot, Ant, and then maybe have enough minutes left over to play. You'd have 38 minutes left, so you could play Kamara 24 and Avdija there 14 minutes, and then maybe Avdija 20 at power forward and Rui 28 at backup 4. I think there's a scenario where you can find enough minutes for all of them. It's just a little weird in terms of the way you're staggering guys down the lineup. Basically, Rui comes in for Ant or Scoot. Sharp slides down to the 2, Avdija slides down to the 3, and then you sub Ant or Scoot back in for whoever, for one of the others, and they basically, you always have Ant or Scoot at a point guard spot. Is how that would probably work, but I don't know. Still a little convoluted if you're playing Rui a bunch of minutes. But I Kamara needs to play, man. He needs to have the opportunity to build upon last year. He's a rotation player on a decent team already, in my opinion.
And we're not trying to do anything this year, so you might as well get him minutes.
Exactly. Exactly. Like, that's the other reason why I want to trade Grant. If one of the guards gets hurt, you just start Kamara.
Yeah.
You slide Sharp down to the 2 if he's not the one who got hurt, and you just start Kamara.
Mm-hmm.
If Avdia gets hurt, you start Kamara at the 4. Like, so that's what I want to see. You want to talk a little bit about Olympics, Eric? Have you been watching any of the Olympics?
Yeah, I've watched a little bit of the basketball.
Yeah, what have you thought of some of the action you've watched so far? It's fun basketball,
I
man. I
thought,
wish the NBA was refereed like this.
uh, well, I gotta ask you in chat, like, what did you think of Tatum not playing his first game?
I mean, they won by 26, so you can't really argue with the decision, right?
Yeah.
It's I don't know. Like, is he somebody that would help that team be better? Because you got a lot of talented people that can score the ball. He's been known as a little bit of a ball stopper. Steve Kerr wants ball movement. That team looked good against Serbia when they were moving the ball. Like, I can get behind the argument that it makes more sense to play Derek White than Jason Tatum, because Derek White will defend, Derek White will move the ball. So
Yeah.
I don't hate it. I think he should have gotten, in the future he should probably try out some lineups with Tatum because he's a good player, and ultimately they're still kind of trying to find what their best rotation and best lineups are, and I think there's a chance that Tatum could be a part of it just because of how talented he is, but I understand why he didn't play him. Do you agree with that, or do you see it differently?
I think this particular team just has too many similar type forwards, and I mean, someone's got to have to sit out. I mean, not necessarily similar like play style wise, but just like in terms of being good. Yeah, I forgot who it was, but someone's been saying this is why. It might have been Casey Holdall actually, but this is why they should always bring like a few like a rookie and a college player or something on every roster, just so like they know their place on the team, like they know they're not going to play. But yeah, I expect Tatum to play a bunch more on Wednesday.
Yeah. Team USA next game you said was Wednesday. Let me look at their schedule.
I think it's Wednesday.
Yeah, July 31st says 12 p.m. I think that's Eastern. Can I find like an actual schedule? Yeah, so they play against South Sudan, which if you watch their exhibition against South Sudan, they almost lost. They won by 1 off a game winner by LeBron. And I'll be honest, I was rooted against the U.S. because it would have been cool for South Sudan, man. Especially exhibition, it really matter. Like, so that's going to be the rematch. I have a feeling the U.S. is just going to destroy them.
Yeah, I think that too.
Although in exhibitions they beat Serbia by 26, and then in the Olympics they beat Serbia by 26. So I thought that was interesting. Why is Serbia so much worse, Eric? I thought Serbia would be better. They got Bogdanovic, they got Jovic, they got Jokic.
Well, I mean, you saw the plus minus for Jokic, right?
Yeah, minus 27 is insane.
Is that what it was? No, it was like with him off the court, they lost the game, and with him on the court, they played him even pretty much.
I don't know. I'm looking at the box score. Oh, that's the first game. That's the exhibition. Okay.
Yeah.
Hold on. The exhibition he was minus 27. Oh yeah,
No, I think
it was
like,
even. It was even. Yeah, you're right. So
yeah,
it was just a straight 0, which is insane.
And how many minutes did he play?
30.
So yeah, 10 minutes without him, they were minus 26.
Yeah. I mean, like, they have guys whose names are recognizable, right? Like Petrusev played at Gonzaga legend right there. He started. But you also got like Micic. You got Marinkovic, which is like a guy that I don't know if he got drafted, but was a name known in draft circles. Didn't end up coming over. Same thing with Nikola Molatinov, Marco Guduric, right? Like they're all names
Hmm.
that are recognizable. Like they got some recognizable names. Jovic off the bench. He only played 13 minutes. He struggled. I was just surprised. I was just surprised. Um, they basically got to play Jokic the whole game.
Yeah, I mean, come on. Even though they have names, they're still look at the names on Team USA though.
Yeah,
We should be dominating.
compared to like South Sudan,
Yeah, but I think you can make an argument that they kind of slept through the
yeah,
some of
they
those
just
exhibitions.
yeah. I mean, Sudan just looked better though, man. Like
Yeah.
they have some guys
Well,
who
we'll
like
see.
played in
We'll see on
college that
Wednesday.
are recognizable. Like
Yeah,
I'm forgetting. I'm forgetting. Let's see. Let me look at their box score from that game, cause
Carlik.
oh
Car-
Shayok.
Yeah.
Shayok had 24. My guy Bull Cole, Eric, started. You know,
Yeah.
Carleek Jones played at Louisville, if I recall correctly. He had a triple double. JT Thor off the bench. Maluach off the bench. Peter Jock. So, those are, I guess, recognizable names, but like Maluach is coming straight out of high school.
Well, also in that South Sudan game, that dude made was like 10 of 10 from 3-point line.
Who?
Was it Carlik?
Shaq was 6 for 12. Wenyan Gabriel was 3 for 3. And nobody else made more than 2. Who are you thinking of 10 for 10? Are you thinking of the Hornets guy from Summer League?
Oh yeah, that's what, I'm getting that confused. But
Yeah, I was gonna say.
there was sorry.
They'll
Yeah,
they'll destroy Puerto Rico too. Like it's just when it comes down to like Canada, France, Germany's decent, right? Like you got some tough teams there. I want to see France versus Team USA. That would be really fun. But next game, July 31st at 12 p.m. Pacific time, which is nice. It's a good time for me to watch it. So yeah, 12 p.m. Pacific time for Team USA. 3 pool games, and they'll move on to like what is it, like an 8-team bracket?
yeah, the knockout rounds.
Yeah, knockout. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see how they do. Let me see like France. How did France look in their first game? Because they're probably the team, the biggest challenger, right?
Yeah, Wemby looked awesome. Gobert got dunked on.
Yeah. Gobert always gets dunked on though. It's really hard to find I wish they had better like website for finding stuff. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean they didn't overall they didn't look good, but they got Wemby, so
Yeah.
was that the game? Did they play? Was that against Giannis? Their first game, or who played? Or who played Giannis? Was that Canada that played Giannis?
I think it was Canada.
Yeah.
France played Brazil.
That's right.
So tomorrow, I don't know the times because it doesn't say what time zone this is, man. I don't know. Yeah, their website's just annoying. So I think this might be Pacific time, 2 a.m. Spain, Greece, 4:30 a.m. Canada, Australia, 8:15 a.m. You got France versus future Blazer Rui Hachimura in Japan. And at 12 p.m. you got Brazil, Germany, and that's tomorrow. And then on Wednesday, the 12 p.m. game is USA, South Sudan. Anyway. We'll talk a little bit more about Olympics, especially as we get into knockout stage. Chat, you got any questions before we wrap up the stream? Tori, it's mystery time. What does mystery time mean?
He's saying mystery time zone, I think.
Oh, got you. Yeah, I think it was Pacific. MLB trade deadline tomorrow. We'll see if the Mariners can do something
our
else.
team's made a trade today, Tori.
Yeah, basically you took our trash.
Yeah.
Man, I miss when Ty France was good. Watch him be good for you, though.
I mean,
he's.
If you're the Reds, might as well take a flyer on him at this point. You
yeah,
always just cut him.
It's just like
You gave us cash, dude.
an average bat at first base is normally not good, especially for a dude that like can't run.
Yeah.
Tori, did you see Hugo Gonzalez's recent game? No, I did not. How did he look? What did he do? My guy Hugo. He looked great. Yeah, he's good, man. I'm tempted to just start diving in on the draft now and have a big board by like September.
Yeah.
Like at least like a top 10. But it's just going to be me buying all the hype on the top players in this draft, especially after last year, Eric. Because last year the top of the draft was so bad. Every player I look like is like, oh my god, look at Edgecombe, Harper, Traore, Flagg, Bailey, Trey Johnson, Gonzalez, Maluach. Like, legitimately, the top 8 players are the guys I just stated. I think they all go number 1 in this draft, in this past year's draft, above Risache.
Not this one, Taylor.
Blazers have to suck next year, and they'll get a star. I feel like if we get a top 8 pick next year, I feel like we're gonna come away feeling really good about the player we draft.
Oh yeah.
It's not gonna be like a Klingon where it's like, oh yeah, he's probably never gonna be an all-star, but like should be a good role player. Like if we have the 7th pick next year, you know, it will be like a Trey Johnson. It will be like somebody that Hugo Gonzalez will be somebody that has creation that you can feel good with. Or we'll take Colin Murray Boyles. Devin says, come on, Eric, my vids aren't that clickbaity.
Keep telling yourself that, Devin.
Let's go look at Devin's last title.
He'll hear us talking about him again like an hour from now.
Okay. His last video. The title is How the Blazers Will Find Success Soon. Okay, solid title. But the thumbnail says Ready to Win a Championship.
Nah, dude. I don't know why people take that as a negative. It's like you're getting people like you burst onto the scene getting like really good numbers on your video.
Yeah, it's what you got. It's what you got to do, you know. But the ready to win a championship is definitely clickbaity. Because the last thumbnail says worst team in the NBA? Question mark. So we went in 2 videos. We went from worst team in the NBA to ready to win a championship. Eric, that's progress.
Yeah,
that's progress. Look at you, Devin. You're big time enough for us to talk about your thumbnails on stream. You've made it. He said, I noticed that when I uploaded and had to double down. That's funny. Yeah, go subscribe to his channel. Subscribe to NBA Uprise as well. Link in description. Link in description. Devin's going to help me with that. Trying to get that off the ground. Devin's the only reason I'm even going to try again because I don't have the time to edit a bunch of stuff myself. Because everything's crazy. Everything's crazy right now.
Secular Monk, why would you ask Tori that question, of all people?
Yeah, what is what is a Doctor Doom? I'm just kidding. What movie is that from, though?
Well, Doctor Doom is like the main bad guy
That guy.
from Fantastic Four,
Got you.
but like it's
Yeah. He was Iron Man, and then it's like Iron Man's
yeah.
enemy, right? Doesn't really make sense to me.
Well, no, like Doctor Doom hasn't been in any of the Avenger movies yet. They just recently got the rights to the Fantastic Four and are planning like a spin-off to that. So, yeah, but like they wanted to bring Robert Downey Jr. back into the mix because Marvel's kind of struggling right now. They oversaturated the market just with a ton of crap,
Yeah,
and
they did.
then
Even I know
um,
that.
yeah, it just hasn't been as good a quality. And then also like they tried to do it where they try to transition from like the main core of superheroes to like kind of lesser characters and lesser superheroes, and they're just not as interesting.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been rough for them. So I think this is just their way of trying to go back, but it doesn't make a lot of sense to bring him back, even though there is technically a comic book of him being like one of the Doctor Dooms from another multiverse is like a variant of Iron Man, but like yeah, I don't know.
Confusing.
Hmm.
All I knew about Marvel is they were like a toy company, and then started, I don't know, in comic books, and then started doing movies, right? Or how long have they done movies? Has that always been a thing? See, I don't know anything.
Well, there's always been like superhero movies and stuff based on the Marvel comics
Yeah.
for a while now, but it really took off when Marvel started like connecting the whole universe and doing like they had a plan to have like they had Iron Man with his own movie and Captain America and stuff, and then had them all like meet up with each other for the Avengers and like
People love crossovers, man.
yeah.
People love crossovers, yeah. I don't watch movies like that. So,
I mean, most of the first few years of it are all like good movies. I think. I don't know.
yeah, maybe when I have a huge in-home theater, maybe I'll watch them.
And then DC tried to do the same thing, and those movies aren't that good.
Yeah.
But yeah, they just got the rights. Marvel got the rights back to like X-Men and uh, Fantastic Four and that kind of stuff. So they're going to be integrating them into their Marvel universe now.
Gotcha. Yeah, every time a movie conversation starts, I just don't even know how to participate.
Hmm.
It's bad, chat. Very uncultured, but that's okay. I watch sports. I watch sports.
Yeah.
And it
So
paid off somehow, you know?
you don't want to talk about One Piece story?
No, I never want to talk about One Piece ever. Our group chat on Twitter keeps talking about One Piece. I think it's like some anime stuff. I don't watch anime. The only anime I've ever watched was some weird like volleyball anime, and it creeped me out so bad. And I just will not watch anime. It's not my thing. But our group chat keeps talking about freaking One Piece, and it's kind of ruining the group chat. Is One Piece anime, Eric?
Yes.
Yeah, no. Can't do it. Can't do it. Can't do it. We'll end this stream with a chat poll. Do you watch anime? Okay, how many anime watchers do we have here? I'm
I
a
can't.
I'm a
I cannot read Zach's
I
comment.
can't read it either. I was about to read it, and then I realized how it would sound. What a typo. When I was really new to anime, a friend suggested high school D&D. All right, just as long as the no votes outweigh the yes votes, we're good here, Eric.
Yeah. So you guys don't even watch like Pokemon or anything?
Tori, I found a guy in Elden Ring named Sam Laporta. That reminds I need to start prepping for fantasy football. I need to start prepping. To anyone in my league, it's a month long of prep just for me not to win a thing. I drafted so well last year and didn't even make the playoffs. That's crazy. Time to do it all over again. Anyway, any final questions from chat that are good questions, we will answer them. Otherwise, we'll be out of here. And we'll stream again either Thursday or when Jerami Grant gets traded. Whichever one is sooner. Probably Thursday. Eric, do you think a Jerami Grant trade happens before training camp? Yes or no?
When's training?
Like October-ish. Like, let's just say before October.
Yes. Yes.
You answered that like a question. Don't seem very confident.
Yes.
All right, I'm going to end this poll before the yes outweighs the no.
Oh.
All right. Not going to let it happen. Anyway. Yeah, we'll see. I don't expect anything anytime soon, but basically we're just going to have to kind of be on standby for the rest of the offseason because until something happens, there is a slim chance every single day that something could happen. So it's a little bit like... It's a little bit like the Dame Saga. Not really, but a little bit, Eric. So I've been taking my mic with me everywhere. I've been taking my webcam because I'm like, I just got to be ready to go just in case.
Yeah.
Which gets a little annoying just lugging that stuff around, but like I'm ready if it happens. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see what the Blazers do. We'll see what other rumors we have. We could talk about every rumor we get at this point because it is August. Our next stream is August 1st, Thursday. So we're getting into August. Looking forward to it. Anything else, Eric?
No, thanks everyone for watching. Appreciate you all. Hope you have a good few days until Thursday night, and hope to see you again then.
Yep, thanks for hanging out with us. Appreciate you guys. If you're watching after, appreciate you guys as well. Leave a like on the way out of here. Subscribe if you're new. Subscribe to the NBA channel. Link at the top of the description. And we are out of here. We will catch you next time. Until then, as always, peace out. Go Blazers.